So, so welcome. My name is Ellen Friedman, and I'm so honored to be sharing this time with you as we venture into exploring the understanding of three principles through physical health and seeing symptoms through new eyes. Um, I appreciate the opportunity to be in conversation with everyone who's on the call who wants to share their experience. And I'll just start off by saying that I've had a real deepening in the understanding of my experience of my own health in the last 24 hours and in the last couple weeks. I'm currently in Colorado in high altitude, and I had about a year and a half ago, I had had a lot of stuff around my heart and lungs and shortness of breath, and altitude was very difficult for me. And I had proof with a oximeter that I put on my finger, and I could see, I had evidence of my shortness of breath, and it was so real. And I truly didn't know how I was going to be up in Colorado where I am now. My daughter just gave birth to a baby a couple weeks ago. And so I just knew I wanted to be here. And so when I was called, like, her water broke and I'm on a plane and I'm in Colorado, and like literally there's no time to think about my shortness of breath. Just wasn't, like, it would come, but it would leave because I was just so distracted by her labor and the birth of this amazing new life, new soul on the planet. And as things settled down on day 3, I noticed, like, I was really getting short of breath, and I was very uncomfortable with the shortness of breath. And my daughter said, "Oh yeah, sometimes that happens on day 3." But I thought, I'm just noticing it on day 3. Like, why would it be different on day 3 unless I make it different? And just with that awareness, the symptoms kind of dropped. And then I left for a couple weeks, and I just came back here um, a couple days ago. And yesterday, I think 4 days ago, and yesterday was day 3. And so the day 3 was in the back of my mind. Oh, I'm on day 3. And sure enough, I had a really difficult day yesterday. But even in that difficulty, there was something easier about it. Like, I just knew that it was going to go away. And my son and daughter-in-law, who are both naturopathic physicians, were here. And I just said, like, do you have any ideas? And they both said the same thing. And we went to the store and got it. And maybe it help me feel better. Maybe the time helped me feel better. Maybe the shift in thinking helped me feel better. But like, today's the best day I've felt here. And I just see the role of my thoughts in my experience of my own health. And not to say that I don't have symptoms of this kind or others, but I'm just so much less bothered by it. And it's like, almost like I can witness them coming on. I'm sensitive. Like, I used to not like my sensitivity. I'm really sensitive to I like the sensitivity that they have, the awareness of what's going on, because then there's something, I see that, and something fresh comes to my mind, and I get caught up less often and less intensely in it. And I'm just so grateful for that. So that's what I've got today. And I just really want to hear from all of you, and what you're, either what you heard in what I shared, or what you heard from reading the title of Seeing Symptoms Through New Eyes, or, some of your own experiences. Who wants to start?
I'd just like to say something about your day 3 business, because if everybody has it on day 3, I assume that's what she meant, then the fact that you came to it as I'm special, I've got this problem, and then she tells you everybody has it on day 3 anyway. I haven't quite worked out the significance of that, but
yeah, but I didn't hear from her everyone has it on day 3. It was like sometimes people just experience it more on day 3.
But even so, not just you, and not just people who've got a heart and lung problem. And so I'm not quite sure what, I really latched onto it, but now that I'm saying it, I'm not quite sure what I latched onto. But it just seemed like an opportunity for you to make less of it if lots of other people.
Right. Yeah. And that's kind of what happened. Like I saw that I attached meaning to day 3.
Mm.
Yeah, I saw that. And in that there was less impact on my experience. So thank you for the opportunity to clarify that, Chan, because there was just so much less impact. And even when the symptoms came on the second round on day 3, I was like, well, isn't that kind of, interesting? Like I knew it was because I had this somewhere in the back of somewhere buried in my thinking, this day 3. I knew that's what I knew was what was going on. But in that, it was so lovely to not make myself wrong for having that experience, or just because that was going on, to not say that I shouldn't be having it, or.
No. Well, absolutely. I mean, the fact that you had it and you let it go through, that's something to be happy with yourself for being able to do. I mean, I think I was interested in it because my current main issue is heart and lungs, and I have so much thinking about it. And, oh my God, what does it mean? What's it going to lead to? What will I be like in the future? All that stuff. And so I suppose I was interested in what you said from my own point of view as well.
Yeah. I mean, that's so interesting. Just my comment on heart and lung, like opened up that and I think that's what we experience, right? Like if I had said my big toe and my baby toe, who knows what your experience would have been.
Yeah, I wouldn't have latched onto that, would I?
Yeah, and as I was saying the heart and lung thing, I was like, why am I, like, does that have anything to do with my current experience? Am I just making it mean something about my current experience? But I want to comment about what you said about, like, all the what ifs. And what's really helped me throughout all of my health things is to remember, like, it is, and having this newborn, witnessing this newborn, like, our bodies are just designed for health. Our bodies are just designed for resiliency. Our body, they naturally take care of themselves. So, like, when I roll, so my example of that, so sometimes when I roll over in bed or get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, my heart just my heart is just racing. Now, I used to make that mean, when I thought I had some heart problems, I used to make that mean, oh, there's evidence of my heart having problems. But now it's like, oh, this is what my body is doing now. This is what my body's doing. This is what my body needs at this altitude as I adjust to this altitude.
Well, yeah.
But I used to make it mean something wrong. Right? See, we assign meaning to it and then we have that experience.
Yes, it's the assigning meaning and then the stress that creates within us, which then depletes the natural healing abilities of our bodies.
Yeah, it
That
does.
is the cycle, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's really powerful statement that for everyone to hear. Like, the fear and worry depletes our body's ability to take care of itself because it puts us in fight or flight, and we don't operate as efficiently and effectively there. We just don't.
Well, we're not supposed to.
Right.
If we're running away from a tiger, the body's not interested in all the old immune system stuff. It's just interested in adrenaline,
right,
and survival, and all that healing business can go on when you get home. Only we do that all the time nowadays.
Yeah, until we don't.
Until we don't, or until we drop dead. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I also have a baby in my life. She's 8 months old, and you know, it's unbelievable. It's such an education just watching how she's made, really, and what she can do without having the faintest idea of any of it. Lovely.
Yeah. And for me, it's watching mine. It's like the beauty of witnessing mind operating through her and through her parents. And through her parents, like every day they're like, we made her. We created her. They're just in awe of that.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I'm happy to. Oh, Sarah, do you want to go first? Sarah?
We can't hear you, Sarah. No. You know what? Let me see.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I took the headphones off. It's a little, hopefully, let me know if you have any trouble hearing me because I'm in a semi-public place. So I'm really working with connecting, allowing ease to be present and spaciousness, and wanting to allow that in more and more. You know, what was just being spoken of about the nervous system resonates a lot, and I'm currently in Florida. I've sort of been in between homes for a long time, between Massachusetts and Florida, and I just came out here. This last week, I traveled across the state in Florida to meet with a specialist, an infectious disease, integrative infectious disease specialist for chronic Lyme infections. And it was a big deal for me to get there. There was a lot that I really felt like I was meeting with an expert who could help. And yet I'm in a challenging dynamic with myself and my family, where one is I also struggle with a lot of trauma. And one of the things that came up for me in considering meeting with this doctor and the treatment course was that at this point, I don't feel like I have enough supports around me in place, kind of a holding support in order to make the treatment feasible on certain psychological, emotional levels. Those are pieces that still need some filling in, potentially. Although I also wonder if that's a blockage of my own that has to be worked through. But the other piece is I'm in a dance with my mom where one minute she wants to be supportive and is open to assisting financially, and then the next minute she goes in the totally other direction. And so I was out there and she made it clear she wouldn't support the treatment. And we've been in this kind of dance and loop. And so I want to name that. I want to name these things because that's its own trauma dynamic, sort of, not yet personally feeling connected to my own internal and financial resources that can help bring me to a certain level of treatment support, but then also being in this kind of back and forth dependency trauma dance with my mom. 1 minute is she gonna support, the next is she not, and it's almost like a dream cycle that just keeps repeating and repeating. And I'm really interested in how I feel like I'm just in the last 2 days, in some ways, I feel like I'm just starting to find the witness in me more, the ease in me more to meet this a little more lightly. And but I'm wondering, and I'm wondering how I can continue to do that and be skillful in relation to these cycles. Especially when there is such a high need for intervention.
Yeah.
So I hope that's clear, that I've said.
It's very clear, Sarah.
Okay.
Very clear. And I really hear the significance of all that you're going through. And I've worked with many, many people, dozens of people on a journey of healing Lyme. So I'm aware of the complexity.
It's really amazing.
Yeah.
The interconnectedness between trauma and the condition. It's very intertwined and related.
But I want to go back to the very first thing that you said, that what resonated with you.
Yeah.
About the nervous system. Like,
Okay.
just your knowing, your awareness of the role of the nervous system in all of it. Like, just that awareness itself is headed in the right direction. And I'm hearing Elsie Spittle in my whispering in my ear. I had the privilege of being with her 2 weekends in a row in the last month, sometime recently. And she said, and that essentially, she said, I just stopped honoring the buts, the reasons. And I just started honoring the awarenesses.
Can you unpack that a little? What you mean by the buts?
So, like, honoring the awareness of the importance of that you felt something about, that something resonated with you about the nervous system, like honoring that, honoring those thoughts, honoring that feeling.
Versus getting into the story.
Versus anything, not even it's not just about the story. It's just about, like, you know, it's like, I just see it as a fork in the road. I can honor the circumstances, the story, the reality of health conditions. I can honor symptoms, or I can see through new eyes and honor awarenesses of whatever is helpful. And, you know, I remember I used to think that if I didn't honor the problems in the story, that, like, I don't know, I had a lot of, I could, you know, that it meant something, like, that it was really important to honor the problems, the story, the family. But I just don't see that anymore. I just don't see any value in honoring that anymore. I like to honor what really resonates with me, what takes me into a better feeling. It doesn't, I used to think I had a lot of evidence that if I didn't deal with the trauma and the history and the story, that it was going to sneak up, or it was going to be problematic, or it was going to, you know, get bigger. But it gets bigger when I see it, and when I honor it, and when I, and whatever needs to be dealt with from there will reveal itself from a different place. Is that helpful to you? And is that helpful?
Yeah. Yes, there's always this place of this little side part of panic that says, but what about the emergency?
Right.
How is this going to be met? Right.
And that's what Elsie says, like, not honoring the buts. Like, emergencies get dealt with in real time. And wisdom is always there to guide us in real time. Always.
And I think that the more the more ease and presence there is available, the more we can tap into the possibilities that are available.
I think it's always available. The only thing that keeps us, like, I no longer think that there's blocks in my consciousness or blocks in my past or blocks from trauma that keep me. It's only thought. It's just simply only thought that keeps me from being present in the moment. And it's so freeing to no longer have full 100% presence in the moment as a goal in my life. Whew, that was just so hard. It was so much effort and it was so hard.
Two last questions.
Yeah.
There's one, and then I want to give space to everyone else. I appreciate the time. One is, when there is a real experience that comes up of a loss of safety, you know, from what's happening in the body, for whatever reason, just, you know, I'm wondering if anyone has found a way to meet that.
A loss of safety?
A feeling of a loss of safety. You know, when something, even when a body.
There's your answer.
Okay.
There's your answer. It's a feeling. And through this understanding, the feeling of loss of safety is just pointing us to our current thinking in the moment.
Really, even when there is a physical need that's involved, when something literally feels life-threatening, potentially.
I mean, the way I see it, we're only experiencing our thought in the moment. Because you could look out at I'm assuming you're near the beach, kind of there's something around, or that you're close to an ocean.
Yeah.
You know, you could look up, you know, like in a second, a different thought's available. And I'm not saying like, look out at the ocean and see the answer. I'm just saying, like, I don't know, the ocean always brings me, the idea of ocean always brings me some fresh thinking. It's just
right.
Fresh thinking is there, ocean or not. I want to say fresh thinking is there, ocean or not. And yeah, it just, and I really, Sarah, and to everyone, like, I was just reflecting on this morning. It wasn't so long ago where I saw these health concerns as such an exception to this understanding. And I see that the only exception was my blind spots, that because it's so it feels so real, and there are so many real experiences but there's no exception to this understanding. And that's really what I'm here to share. Like, there's no exception to the understanding of these teachings with health. Wisdom's always present.
And sometimes that wisdom may be get to the emergency room.
That's right.
Okay. I want to make sure that's included here, that it's
absolutely.
not a bypass thing of intervention.
Yeah. No, I mean, a couple nights, I don't know, sometime, I'm very time challenged now, but no, I woke up and either this last 3 days, I think it was the first 3 days that I was here, I was like, do I need to go to the emergency room? Am I getting enough oxygen?
Yeah.
And then wisdom just said, you're fine. And knowing, I think and I just wanted to like say, like, what if we all knew in the depths of our heart that we were fine in the emergency room, out of the emergency room, in a treatment center, in our own home, like knowing our okayness, knowing that we're fine, no matter what. Like the essence of who we are is fine. That can't be broken, can't be harmed. So thank you. Okay. Yeah,
Can I
Tanya.
add? Hi.
It's nice to see you.
Hello. So lucky for you that you don't need the ocean. I just wanted to say, because you don't live near the ocean. Right? But what was coming to mind is that this has just come to mind, that my kids, two of my kids, they love this app on the iPad that is this game of like this family, and they're in their house and their garden, and they get to move the kids around, and they play in the garden, they play in the house, and they take things out of the cupboard and put things back, and then you buy another bit of the app, which like we bought them the school, and so they go to school, and then they do things at school, and it's all this animation going on. And there is I think we bought them another part, and there's another part which is the hospital. And for some reason, the girls really want to buy the hospital. And I've gone a bit crazy, and I'm like, no, I'm not buying you that part of the app. And my husband's against me, and he's like, why won't you just let them buy the hospital? And I'm like, they're not buying the hospital, because then they're going to be playing, going in and out of the hospital. Oh, going in and out of the hospital, like this is just like a regular part of our life. So there's that going on, and at the same time, I'm thinking, it's so interesting that we seem to be so much of our lives in a need of a paradigm shift, that we understand something that we must have known once, that we are okay, and that we have this wisdom inside us always to guide us. And I'm thinking, along with this, my objection to the app, my youngest, who's 10, she still thinks that when her finger's hurting her or something like that, she wants a plaster, a Band-Aid, we call it in America. So she wants the plaster to make her feel better. And because she'll be like, I like, just put on a plaster, right? And there's something, I know that the plaster's not going to make her feel better, right? I know that it's the thinking that the plaster is going to make her feel better, then her finger stops hurting her. But she thinks it's the plaster still, and that's why she wants to put the plaster on. And there's something that happens in our education in terms of health, I think, that we look outside and we forget that we're fine. And we grow up in these systems of where the hospital is right there and it's going to save us, and we need to go in and out and in and out and in and out. And we always have the plasters on hand, or whatever it is that comes in from the drugstore, whatever, or on a prescription. And in fact, our journey can be into a new paradigm of that I am innate health. And that's always inside me. And I will have moments when I forget, and that's okay. And I have moments when my thought makes it look like there's something else going on, and there's something that I need to be fixed. And then I can remember that my body, in its magnificence, is always doing what it needs to do. And I can have a different experience of that, depending on my state of mind and my thinking.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful, Tanya. And I don't know. I also heard, I'm laughing because I also heard like when we make health inside, we make health inside out or outside in. when we make everything that way, like, I don't think it's just even, you know, I mean, this webinar is kind of focused on health, but there's just a tendency in our world that we look outside, whether it's health or anything else. And so I don't know that it happens and even more for health. And maybe, you know, and like, I don't know. So I'm curious, did your daughter get the plaster or not?
Oh, I always let her have the plaster because I know her thinking calms down.
Yeah, yeah.
And then she's going to get on with whatever she wants to get on with and play and whatever, right? Or she can go off to school in the morning. But, you know, but I'm aware of it. Like at some point I need to just tell, I mean, at some point, I guess with the plaster, she'll get it because, you know, adults don't think we need plasters all the time. Like we've got over that illusion. But there is something that we lose. And obviously I share this understanding with my kids. So she's getting it in other ways, not through the plaster. But there's something that we lose.
But maybe she's getting through the plaster. Maybe she's getting like the loving care and attention toward her finger that she thinks comes with the plaster.
Yeah, or I think she just thinks it's taken care of.
Yeah.
Right? The plaster takes care of it.
Yeah. And
especially if it's an aloe vera plaster, that's even better, and it's green. And, you know, and it's taken care of.
Aloe vera, you know, is helpful for
I know, but I don't think it's, I like, yeah, it is. But it's like, you know, it's like little kids. They like to put on plasters because they think that that's what's needed.
I remember after my children were grown that I learned, like, you know, the instinct to like rub an owie on a child, like to, you know, oh, it'll be better. Like, oh my gosh, we're increasing circulation to help it get better. Like, it's not just a little TLC loving touch. Like there's actually something that helps with that.
Right, right. And also, as a parent, you learn, well, if the kid falls over and everything looks fine, if you go into shock at that moment, the kid is going to start crying, like, a lot. Whereas if you just, like, manage to keep your calm, you pick the kid up, you look, everything looks fine, and then you give them a hug and tell them they're fine, right? They're calm much quicker because their thought doesn't go off into...
Right.
To whatever it is that it goes off into. But
so, and it's like, for me, that's like formless, it's like sharing the understanding through formless energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think as adults, I think sometimes we continue to think that we want that or should have that or need that, and for me, like, remembering that mind is that eternal support for me. You know, when I was, you know, had that question about my breathing in the middle of the night, it's like, oh, mind is my support right here, right now. And mind will clearly say it's time to go to the emergency room. And I've done that before, you know.
Right, right. Yeah, and I often share with people that, you know, and animals also self-medicate because mind guides them too, right? They know that this herb at this time is good for them to rid them of this problem.
Yeah.
And there is no, you know, they don't have the internet or the books or whatever, or the doctor in the pack to guide them, but they just know. They just know.
Yeah.
And
so
we forget that we know too.
Yeah. No, that's what I want to say. Like, for all of us, like, we forget that we know too. And when we're so busy in trying to figure out things, we forget that the wisdom is there. And you know, I have many experiences of thinking that quieting my mind so that I could hear wisdom was on me. And that was so frustrating for me. And as I reflect back, I see that wisdom was there in the depths of extreme pain. Wisdom was there in the depths of confusion or conflict. Wisdom was always there guiding me. And that it was only in the moment when I thought I needed an answer now, and I didn't have an answer now, that I would get frustrated. And just for me, it's so helpful to remember that the timing of receiving wisdom is not on me. And the quiet mind is not on me. It's more of a byproduct of understanding. So thank you. Thank you all. Anyone else? So it could be questions or comments or experiences that you've had, or I really want to speak a few more moments about timing. Like, my timing always seems to be different than mine's timing. My desire for an answer or direction or instruction always seems different. And just remembering that can be helpful to me. Just remembering, oh yeah, mine's got this. Mine has the timing, mine has the answer. And I wonder when that'll come. And I wonder what it'll look like. And I want, just the wonder of it for me kind of creates space and openness. So I'd really love to hear from anyone else who'd love to share. Thank you, Francis. But you have to unmute yourself. Let me see if, maybe I can.
Yeah, it's okay, I'm done.
Oh, I just did,
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just finding I'm getting more and more marred in the problem that I just can't see. And I think I'm able to get through with this now, but just with this neuropathy, where I feel it's my feet are getting more and more paralyzed. It's going up my legs, and I suppose because this happened through chemotherapy, I can never get it out of my head that this was done to me by this mustard, like poison that damaged my nerves.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just sort of fighting with it all every second of the day, because it's there with me, the pain.
Yeah.
Every step I take.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm continually looking for fixes, Googling for something, but in the medical world, they do not have, absolutely do not have an answer to this. So I think when you know that when they say there's no answer, and it just seems to get more and more. You know, if you feel out there, even though it's, you know, it's not necessarily out there, when you feel out there that they might have some, it just doesn't seem natural that what has happened to me.
Yeah.
The bigger picture of having cancer seems more natural. Do you know what I mean? It's that I feel, okay, well, that can heal or not. But I suppose I just can't see this healing.
Yeah. So I'm curious, where has your experience of neuropathy lightened or lessened?
I can't say that it has. I find it hard to see when and if it has, and then.
Well, it's just, yeah. And so, I mean, I've been in conversation with you more than once when it has. And I know it's really easy to get caught up in like the medical establishment that in some way created the experience that I'm having with neuropathy doesn't have a solution. So, you know, that's it. But people have so many different experiences of neuropathy. And you have had many experiences of neuropathy. Maybe right now you just like right now they're just a blur. But I know when we're looking for an outcome of like no symptoms, it's really hard to see the lessening of symptoms.
Yeah. And it's the opposite. To me, it's the opposite. It's just getting worse and worse.
Yeah. Can I have your permission to remind you of a conversation that we had, just a private conversation that we had?
Sure, yeah.
So I think it was the last conversation, and you were in this place of the neuropathy getting worse. And then that night you had a event outside of the house, and you weren't sure how you were going to do it and if you could do it, and there was going to be a lot of walking. Do you remember?
Yeah.
And then you messaged me and you said you had a lovely time. Now, I'm not saying the neuropathy went away. I'm just saying you had a lovely time. Is that accurate, that you had a lovely time?
It's accurate. I had relatively, compared to what I would have had.
Yeah. I mean,
it's, yeah, okay, so, yeah.
You had a better time than you anticipated.
Yeah.
See, to me, that's so reflective, especially with pain. Like, we can either be in the pain, we can either be in the symptoms where they're just like surrounding us physically, mentally, emotionally. We're just in it. Or we can be in life with symptoms. So, like right now, you are in the symptoms. That night, you were in life with the symptoms.
Yeah.
And to me, that's how this understanding can impact how we experience or see our symptoms. And it's so easy for symptoms to become in the foreground, to be hyper-focused. It's so easy because they're physical and we feel them. It's so easy. And I just want to kind of widen the aperture and say you can be in life and the symptoms can still be there.
Yeah, I mean, I do see what you're saying, but I suppose I might say even try to do that, but obviously trying.
Well, see, let's just say where you have. Let's just I mean, let's just hear where you have. Let's honor the moments, the memories that you have, and honor the possibility that there's more to come. Because the hyper focus on symptoms, listen, I'm not saying it's easy to not be hyper focused, because I know like firsthand multiple times of being there. But the hyper focus enhances the symptoms 100% of the time for me. It just does. It enhances them, it energizes them. And I'm not saying that this is easy. Yeah, Tanya, do you have something to share?
If I can. Hi, Francis. I work a lot with women at midlife, and very often I have women come to me and say, I had a hysterectomy or other surgical procedures, and I'm in terrible menopause, and I keep blaming myself for having the hysterectomy, or I keep, maybe I shouldn't have had that procedure, and maybe I shouldn't have had that surgery. And what I tell women, because I believe it, is that just because we've had some kind of procedure, and in the case of, you have your womb removed or any other surgical procedure or any other treatment, that doesn't wipe out the wisdom of our body. Ever. It's impossible. Mind still flows through us after any procedure or treatment. Sometimes our bodies can react to a procedure. That's how women, fall straight into menopause from not being in menopause at all, and they fall straight into it. And so the body moves into some kind of shock and does what it does to try and compensate for what's happened, but it does it through mind, right? It does what it needs to do through mind, because it's impossible that it works out of mind. If you see what I mean, it's impossible for mind to leave us. And it's also impossible for our bodies to act in a way that's not from love, because that divine love always runs through us, and it runs through our bodies, and it is as mind, always present.
And it's so easy to forget it when we're in excruciating pain with every step.
Right.
It's so, I'm just saying, like, both.
Yeah, but so we forget.
Yeah.
That mind still runs through us.
Mm-hmm.
We forget that the wisdom is still operating in us, right? And we can go into this like, I shouldn't have had that procedure or that treatment. That's what's to blame. But your body, from love, is just reacting to the conditions that exist. And if you worry about that you shouldn't have your procedure, or you shouldn't have had a treatment, or whatever it is, it doesn't make mind any bigger or any less, right? Because that's always there, but it changes your experience of your symptom.
And especially with nerve pain. I mean, all pain is connected to the nervous system, but especially neuropathy, which is a nerve pain, is in my experience is so impacted by the nervous system. It's so impacted by worry and fear.
Yeah, Yes, I was going. I mean, I recognize that the amount of worry and fear, um, and this is a curious to the extent when on my usual searching for something possible out there, I came across a thing the other day that neurofeedback can help neuropathy, and that made sense to me at some level. In that I say, of course, neurofeedback is your own self telling your body what to do. But if I can't do it, I said, well, maybe it would help to have a little bit of an input to do that. So I found somebody here in Dublin the next day who actually has, and I sent off this paper to them, and they have the facility to do this. So I went along and I had the electrodes put on my head, and then they were able to see what areas of the brain were particularly excitable, if you like the top. There was a top part that seemed to be sort of calmish and sort of a meditative sort of person type thing. But then there was a sort of a deeper thing inside that seemed to be, I think they call it excitable. So to me, that's the worry, anxiety part of it all. And what the idea is that you would, online, you would have, say, like a Google type glasses, and you would play these games, and they'd be sort of monitoring at some level. You play these games, so it'd be like brain plasticity, that eventually the brain would start to just lessen. And in this study, people with neuropathy definitely had much better experiences of. So that was just the other day, and they'll get back to me tomorrow if I wanted to follow this through. And part of it is.
Go ahead.
Sorry?
Go ahead.
Part of me feels, yeah, I mean, maybe it would help to have some exterior, we take all sorts of things, we do all sorts of things. For you take a pill, you have treatment for, anyway, that's where I am as well.
Yeah. So we're at the top of the hour, and I just want to wrap up by saying, because I think you're bringing up something really important, that about, wisdom is guiding us to, to wisdom guided you to that person, and you'll see whether you want to do that. And sometimes I've heard people take this understanding to the extreme, which means we never take a pill, or we never do a technique, or we never seek outside help. I don't see it that way. I see that we're internally guided to do that.
Yeah.
And so it's important to know that you just, you're something guided you to Google, something guided you to that wasn't the only answer. That wasn't the only thing, but something, and it was near you. And so you followed through, and you'll follow that until you don't.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful.
Yeah. Sure, I'll go with that.
Right?
Yeah.
Sarah ended up in Florida at a specific center. I mean, there's dozens and dozens of Lyme facilities all over the U.S. I know, because I've worked in one and saw people coming and going from different places. So we're always being guided internally to. Sometimes it's a practitioner, sometimes it's a treatment, and sometimes it's I don't have to go to the emergency right now.
Yeah, it's on those lines. Yeah. Okay. All right. Thanks, Ellen.
Yeah. So thank you all for giving me the honor and privilege of sharing this time together. And please know that I'm available by email. And if you have any follow-up questions or want to explore a little bit more, those of you who have been in conversation with me, I love that. And may we all see something new and know that it's in divine timing, and I think I just want to also complete by remembering the infinite number of bodily functions that occur, that are occurring all the time without us doing anything. So on that note, lots of love and healing to all. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.
Thanks, Ellen. Thanks, all of you.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.